The battlefield was silent for only 1 second. Then the sky burned with fire again. Ships roared across the black void, weapons shining like falling stars. Among the chaos, one human soldier stood with steady hands and sharp eyes. His name was Captain Ryan Hale, a warrior who had fought too many wars. But in this war he was not fighting alone. Beside him stood Kayla, an alien warrior from a proud race known as the Vayari. Her tall frame was covered in silver armor, her 4 glowing eyes watching every threat. Her movements were fast, almost like lightning, her blade cutting through enemies with deadly grace. Ryan trusted her more than anyone else. She was not only his partner in war, she was his shield, his blade, and his friend. The humans and the Vayari had once been enemies, but the galaxy forced them into alliance. Together they now fought against a ruthless species called the Drex. The Drex were brutal and merciless, burning entire colonies without care. For both Ryan and Kayla, this was not just a war, it was survival. And on every mission, they stood, side by side, never breaking the bond they had built in battle. Ryan remembered the first time he saw her fight. It was on the ruins of Outpost K-17, where Drex soldiers had cornered their unit. Humans were falling one after another, and hope was fading fast. Then Kayla appeared, her sword glowing with strange alien energy. She fought like a storm, fearless, unstoppable that day. Ryan knew he had found a warrior he could trust with his life. Since then they had fought together across stars and broken worlds. In silence they understood each other. Ryan would cover her with his rifle, and Kayla would strike down any enemy that came too close. They were 2 soldiers from different worlds, but in battle, they moved as one. Sometimes Ryan thought she knew his thoughts even before he spoke them, and sometimes, when the fighting was quiet, he wondered if she thought the same. The galaxy was endless war, but with Kayla beside him, Ryan felt less alone. Still, in his heart, he knew this bond could not last forever. He had seen too many friends, died too many promises broken by war. But Kayla was different. She carried herself with honor, with loyalty. She believed in him, and he believed in her. That belief was rare in the cold silence of space. On the night before their biggest mission yet, Ryan sat inside the metal walls of their ship. The engines hummed softly, the stars outside, shining like cold fire. Kayla stood near the window, silent as always, her silver armor glowing faintly in the light. Ryan broke the silence. "Tomorrow will be hard," he said quietly. Kayla turned her eyes toward him, her voice low but steady. "Every battle is hard, Captain, but tomorrow may decide everything." There was no fear in her voice, only truth. Ryan nodded, though the weight of her words pressed heavy on his chest. He wanted to say more, but words felt empty. So instead, he checked his weapon, making sure it was ready. Kayla watched him and then placed her hand on his shoulder. Her touch was strong but calm, a silent promise that she would be there. The next day came with fire. Their ship descended into the war zone, a broken city of steel and ash. The Drex had turned it into a fortress, but humans and Vayari had no choice. They had to take it back, or the war would be lost. Ryan led his squad through the shattered streets, Kayla always at his side. Explosions shook the ground. Smoke filled the air, but Ryan never looked back. He knew Kayla was there, guarding his blind spot. Every time he raised his rifle, he heard the sound of her blade striking. Every time danger rose, he felt her presence beside him. In the heat of battle, Ryan saw the truth. It was not just skill that made Kayla his perfect partner. It was trust, pure and unbreakable, forged in blood and fire. But deep in the shadows of that ruined city, danger was waiting. Something darker than any fight before, and Ryan did not yet know. This day would be the last time he would ever fight. With Kayla by his side, the human warrior and the alien warrior stood together. 2 souls from different worlds, bound by war, and fate was about to tear that bond apart. The battle in the ruined city grew louder with every passing second. The air was filled with fire, smoke, and the cries of soldiers. Ryan and Kayla moved like shadows between broken walls, striking at the Drex with deadly skill. Each step forward was dangerous, but they trusted each other. Ryan covered her with his rifle, and Kayla's glowing blade cut through enemies that came too close. Their mission was clear: destroy the Drex command tower in the center of the city. If the tower fell, the enemy's communication would break. Without it, the Drex army in this sector would collapse, but the closer they came, the more resistance they faced. The Drex were ready, and they were not going to give up the tower without blood. Explosions shook the ground. Metal beams fell from above. Ryan pushed his squad forward, shouting orders. Kayla stayed at his side, her armor marked with scratches, her blade glowing. Brighter than ever, every Drex soldier who crossed her path fell quickly. To Ryan, it seemed like nothing could stop her. But deep inside, he felt a cold fear. He knew battles like this always demanded a price. When they reached the shadow of the tower, the ground trembled. A Drex war beast 3 times the size of a human stepped into their path. Its body was armored, its claws sharp like blades. It roared so loud the walls around them cracked. The squad froze in fear, but Kayla did not. She stepped forward. Raising her blade high, Ryan shouted, "Kayla, wait, we face it together!" But she shook her head, her voice calm. "No, Captain, this one is mine." Before Ryan could stop her, she rushed at the beast. Her blade clashed with its armored skin, sparks flying through the smoke. The ground shook under their fight. Every strike shaking the ruined street. Ryan fired his rifle, trying to distract the beast, but Kayla moved too fast, circling it, striking again and again. For a moment it looked like she would win, but the beast was stronger than anything they had faced before. The monster struck Kayla with one of its claws, throwing her against a broken wall. Her armor cracked, and Ryan felt his heart stop. "Kayla!" he shouted, running toward her. But the beast blocked his path, its glowing eyes fixed on him. Ryan kept firing, but his bullets barely scratched its armor. The squad tried to help, but they were pinned down by enemy fire from the rooftops. It was chaos, and Ryan could do nothing but watch as Kayla stood again, wounded but unbroken. She looked at him across the battlefield, and in her 4 glowing eyes, he saw something he had never seen before. Not just strength, not just courage, but farewell. "Ryan," she called out, her voice strong even through the noise. "Live and lead them, that is my last order to you." Before he could answer, she charged the beast again. This time, she did not fight to survive. She fought to destroy. Her blade glowed brighter than ever, energy burning around her like fire. She leapt onto the beast's back, driving her weapon deep into its core. The beast roared, thrashing, its armor cracking under the force. And then, in one blinding explosion of light, both Kayla and the monster vanished. The street fell silent for a moment. Only fire and smoke remained. Ryan froze, unable to breathe. The squad stood in shock, staring at the place where Kayla had been. There was no sign of her, no body, no sound. Only the broken remains of the beast's armor scattered across the ground. Ryan dropped to his knees, his rifle slipping from his hands. His chest felt hollow, his heart crushed. She was gone, the one warrior he trusted, the one ally who made him believe in hope again, and she had given her life to protect him. He wanted to scream, but no sound came. The war around him continued, but for Ryan, the world had gone silent. Later, when the tower finally fell and the humans secured the city, Ryan searched through the ruins for her. Hours passed, and still, he found nothing, not even a fragment. Of her blade, the Viari arrived, taking the broken pieces of armor that remained. One of their elders looked at Ryan with sorrow in his eyes. "She fought with honor," the elder said, "but her story is not finished." Ryan stared at him, confused. "Like, what do you mean?" he asked, his voice rough with grief. The elder only shook his head, refusing to explain. Instead, he whispered, "In death, sometimes, we leave more behind than we think." That night, Ryan could not sleep. He replayed her last words again, and again in his mind. "Live and lead them," she had said. But how could he live without her? How could he lead when the one who gave him strength was gone? And yet, deep inside, he felt a strange unease. The elder's words haunted him. What had Kayla left behind? What story was not finished? Ryan did not know. But soon, he would discover the truth. and that truth would change his life forever. The war did not stop after Kayla's sacrifice. Battles raged across the stars, soldiers fought and died, but for Ryan Hale, every step forward felt heavier than the last. He had lost many friends before, but losing Kayla cut deeper than anything else. She was more than a partner in war. She was proof that two different worlds could fight as one. Now that proof was gone, and Ryan carried only silence in his heart. Weeks passed, and he buried himself in missions. He led his squad with cold focus, never letting his pain show. But at night, when the stars filled the sky outside his ship's window, he remembered her glowing eyes, her steady voice, her last words. "Live and lead them," she had said. But how could he lead when he felt so empty inside? One day, a message arrived from the Vayari High Council. It was short and formal, but its words struck him like lightning. "Captain Ryan Hale, you are requested to appear before the council." Ryan frowned, confused. The Vayari were not known for calling humans into their hidden sanctuaries. Why summon him now, weeks after Kayla's death? The journey took days, deep into Vayari territory. His ship landed on a world filled with crystal towers and silver forests. The air shimmered with energy, and the people watched him with cautious eyes. He was a stranger here, a human in a place where few humans had ever walked. Guides led him into the great hall of the council. Tall figures with glowing eyes stood around him, silent and stern. The leader of the council spoke. "Captain Hale, you fought beside Kayla, daughter of House Vayer, until her final breath." Ryan bowed his head, pain returning like a knife. "Yes," he answered quietly. "She gave her life for mine." The hall grew silent, and the council exchanged heavy looks. Then the leader spoke again. "You must meet the one she left behind." Before Ryan could ask what he meant, the great doors opened, and a figure stepped inside. She was younger than Kayla, but the resemblance was clear. The same silver armor, the same glowing eyes, though only 2 instead of 4. Her presence was sharp, her gaze filled with fire. "This," the leader said, "is Lyra, Kayla's sister." Ryan froze, his breath caught in his throat. Kayla had never spoken of a sister, never hinted at family, and yet here she was, standing before him like a living shadow of the one he had lost. Lyra looked at him with cold eyes, filled not with kindness, but with anger. "So," she said, her voice sharp, "you are the human who let my sister die." Her words cut deeper than any blade. Ryan stiffened, his jaw tightening. "I did not let her die," he said firmly. "She chose to sacrifice herself." But Lyra only laughed bitterly. "Chose, or was forced because you were not strong enough?" The council shifted uncomfortably, but no one interrupted. It was clear this meeting was not only about respect. It was a test. Ryan forced himself to remain calm. He had seen soldiers break under grief, and now he realized Lyra's pain was as deep as his own. But her grief had turned to fire, and that fire was aimed at him. The leader raised a hand, silencing the hall. "Kayla's bloodline carries honor, and her sister now seeks her place," he said. "Lyra must fight, and the path ahead will decide her destiny." Then he looked directly at Ryan. "And you, Captain Hale, must fight beside her." The word struck Ryan like a thunderbolt. He stared at the council in disbelief. "You want me to fight with her? After she—" The leader cut him off. "Yes, because war does not wait for grief." Lyra stepped closer, her eyes burning into his. "I will fight," she said, "but not for you, human. I fight for my sister, and for my people. If you stand in my way, I will leave you behind, and if you fail me, I will not forgive you." Her words were sharp, but Ryan saw the truth behind them. She was lost, torn between hate and duty. And yet, deep inside, he felt something else. The same fire he once saw in Kayla's eyes, the same strength that made her a warrior. The council dismissed them, leaving Ryan and Lyra alone for a moment. Silence hung heavy between them. Then Ryan spoke, his voice low but steady. "I will not replace your sister, and I will not ask you to forgive me." But if we fight together, we can honor her. Lyra's eyes narrowed, studying him. Her lips curved in the smallest of smirks. Then prove it, she whispered. That night Ryan stood alone in his quarters. The memory of Kayla weighed on him. But now there was something new. Her sister, a warrior with fire in her heart and anger in her soul, the council wanted them to fight as one. But could he trust her? Could she ever trust him? As the stars burned outside the window, Ryan felt the future shifting. Kayla was gone, but her story was not finished. Her sister had entered his life, and with her came questions he was not ready to face. In the silence of the night, one thought echoed in his mind. Was this fate, or was this the beginning of something far more dangerous? The war did not wait for grief. Only days after Ryan met Lyra, the council sent them on their first mission together. The order was simple: destroy a Drex supply convoy before it reached the front. But Ryan knew the truth. The mission was not only about the convoy. It was about testing him and Lyra. The council wanted to see if they could fight as one, just as Kayla once had. Lyra prepared in silence, her armor gleaming in the low light of the ship's bay. Ryan watched her from a distance, adjusting his rifle. Every movement she made reminded him of Kayla, yet she was not Kayla. Where Kayla had been calm and steady, Lyra was sharp, restless, her anger easy to see. She checked her blade again and again, as if preparing to fight the whole galaxy alone. When Ryan stepped closer, she glanced at him, her voice cold. "Do not slow me down, human," she said. Ryan sighed, used to her words by now. "I am not here to slow you down," he answered. "I am here to make sure we both live." Her lips curved into a bitter smile. "We will see," she whispered. The ship dropped them into the darkness of a ruined valley. The Drex convoy moved below, armored transports crawling through the ash and smoke. Ryan raised his scope, marking targets. "We hit the lead and rear vehicles first," he said. "Cut them off, trap the rest in the middle." Lyra crossed her arms, her glowing eyes fixed on the enemy. "You give orders as if I must follow," she muttered. Ryan lowered the scope, meeting her gaze. "No," he said calmly. "I give orders because I want us to survive." For a moment she said nothing, then finally nodded. It was not agreement, but it was enough. Together they moved into position, silent as shadows. Ryan fired first, his rifle striking the lead vehicle. It exploded in flames, blocking the path. Lyra leapt forward, her blade glowing bright. She cut through the Drex soldiers who scrambled to respond. Her movements swift and fierce, Ryan covered her from above, firing with precision. The convoy fell into chaos. Drex soldiers trapped between fire and steel. For a moment, it almost felt like the old days, like fighting beside Kayla again. But the illusion broke quickly. Lyra's fighting was reckless, too aggressive. She pushed forward alone, ignoring danger. "Lyra, fall back," Ryan shouted. But she didn't listen. She plunged deeper into the enemy line, her blade cutting down one after another. Then Ryan saw it. A Drex sniper hidden on the ridge, his weapon aimed at her. "Lyra!" he yelled, sprinting forward. The shot fired, but Ryan slammed into her, knocking her aside. The bullet struck his armor, tearing across his shoulder. They crashed into the dirt, Ryan groaning in pain. Lyra rolled free, her eyes wide with shock. For the first time she seemed uncertain. You saved me?" she whispered. Ryan gritted his teeth, pressing his hand against the bleeding wound. "I told you," he said, his voice hard. "I am here to make sure we both live." Before she could answer, more Drex soldiers charged. Ryan forced himself to his feet, firing through the pain. Lyra moved beside him, her strikes no longer reckless but sharp and controlled. For the first time they fought together, not as enemies, not as rivals, but as allies. When the last Drex soldier fell, the valley grew quiet again. Smoke rose from the destroyed convoy, and Ryan collapsed against a broken wall. His wound burned, but he forced himself to stay awake. Lyra stood above him, her blade still glowing. For a long time she said nothing, only staring at him. Finally, her voice broke the silence, softer than before. "My sister trusted you. And now I see why." Ryan looked up at her, surprised. There was no anger in her eyes now, only conflict. But before he could speak, a distant roar shook the ground. From the shadows beyond the ridge, something massive was moving. The earth trembled. Under its steps, the sound like thunder rolling across the valley. Lyra turned, her face tightening. "That is no ordinary Drex beast," she said, her voice low. Ryan pushed himself up, blood running down his arm. "Then we'll have to face it together," he said. She looked at him, hesitation flickering in her eyes, and then, slowly, she nodded. For the first time, she was not just Kayla's sister, she was his partner in war. But as the shadow of the creature grew larger, Ryan could not shake the thought. This mission was never about the convoy. The council had sent them here for something more, and whatever was coming out of the darkness, it was only the beginning. The creature that rose from the ridge was a monster of steel and flesh. Its body was covered in black armor plates, its eyes burning with green fire. It was larger than any Drex beast Ryan had ever seen. For a moment, even Lyra froze, her blade trembling in her hand. Then she set her jaw and stepped forward. Ryan tightened his grip on his rifle, pain shooting through his wounded arm. "Stay close," he said. Lyra shot him a sharp look. "I do not need your protection." But she did not move away. The fight was brutal. The beast's claws smashed through walls, its roar shaking the valley. Ryan fired round after round, aiming for the gaps in its armor. Lyra struck with her glowing blade, sparks and blood flying. With each hit, together they circled it, one covering the other. When Ryan stumbled, Lyra cut the beast's claw before it struck him. When Lyra was knocked aside, Ryan laid down heavy fire to give her space to rise again. It was chaos, but for the first time, they moved in rhythm, like two parts of one weapon. Finally, with a roar of fury, Lyra drove her blade deep into the beast's chest. Ryan fired at the same spot. The creature howled, collapsing into the ash. Its body burned, then crumbled into glowing dust. For a long moment, silence filled the valley. Only the sound of Ryan's ragged breathing remained. Lyra stood over the ashes, her blade still glowing. Then she turned to Ryan, her eyes steady. "You fought well," she said. It was the first time she had spoken to him without anger. Ryan gave a tired smile. "So did you," they returned, to their ship in silence, but something had shifted. The sharp wall between them had cracked. Ryan could feel it, and he knew she felt it too. Over the next weeks, they were sent on more missions together. Each time, they moved closer to fighting as one. Ryan noticed the changes in her. She still carried fire in her words, but now she listened. She began to ask questions about tactics, about human soldiers, and sometimes late at night she asked about Kayla. Ryan told her the stories he remembered, how Kayla once held a line alone until reinforcements arrived, how she had saved a group of civilians even when her orders said to retreat, how she had laughed once, a small laugh, when Ryan tried to teach her a human joke. Lyra listened quietly, her face unreadable. But in her eyes, Ryan saw a storm of emotions, pride, sorrow, and something else he could not name. One night, as the ship drifted in the silence of space, Lyra spoke softly. "My sister believed in you," she said. "But I do not understand why. Humans are weak compared to us, yet she gave her life for one. Why?" Ryan did not answer at once. He thought of Kayla's last stand, her last words. "She didn't save me because I was human," he finally said. "She saved me because we were partners, because we trusted each other. That trust was stronger than race, stronger than war." Lyra stared at him for a long time, then turned away. But he noticed her grip on her blade loosened. Something inside her was changing. Slowly. Still, Ryan sensed there was something she wasn't telling him. Sometimes, when she thought he wasn't watching, she touched a crystal pendant hidden beneath her armor. Sometimes she whispered words in her own language. Her eyes closed in silence. And sometimes, when she thought no one could hear, she cried. Ryan never asked, but the question burned inside him. What was she hiding? Their next mission brought the question closer to the surface. They were ordered to scout a Drex fortress on a desert moon. The air was hot and dry, the sand sharp like glass under their boots. Ryan led the way, scanning with his scope. But Lyra, moved differently, her steps cautious, her eyes scanning the shadows, as if she knew something more than the mission report. When they reached the ridge, Ryan crouched low. "There it is," he whispered, pointing at the fortress below. But Lyra did not look. Her eyes were fixed on a cave in the distance, half hidden by the sand. Ryan frowned. "What is it?" She shook her head quickly. "Nothing. Focus on the mission." But her voice was too sharp, too forced. That night, while the squad rested, Ryan kept watch, and he saw Lyra slip away, moving silently toward the cave. He followed her, keeping to the shadows inside the cave. He found her kneeling before a glowing altar. The same pendant she always carried now shone with light. She whispered words he could not understand, her face hard with pain. Ryan stepped forward, his voice low but steady. "Lyra, what are you doing?" She spun around, her eyes wide. The glow of the pendant flickered, then faded. For a moment she said nothing. Then her voice came, sharp and cold again. "You should not have followed me." Ryan stared at her. The fire in her eyes was not just grief anymore. It was something deeper, something secret. And in that moment Ryan realized the truth. Lyra was not only fighting for the Alliance, she was carrying a mission of her own, one that she had sworn to keep hidden, even from him. The silence in the cave was heavy. Ryan stood still, his rifle at his side, his wound from the last battle aching. Lyra faced him with her hand tight around the glowing pendant. Her eyes burned like fire, but her breathing was uneven. It was clear he had caught her in the middle of something she never wanted him to see. "Tell me the truth," Ryan said quietly. "What are you hiding?" For a moment she looked ready to attack him, her blade half raised, her body tense. But then she lowered her weapon, her shoulders trembling. "You should not be here," she whispered. "This is not for human eyes." Ryan stepped closer, his voice firm. "We fight together, Lyra. I cannot protect you if I do not know the truth." At his words, her expression changed. Her anger faded into sorrow. Her eyes softened, but her voice was heavy with shame. "My sister's death was not only her choice," she said slowly. "She was ordered to fight beside you, Ryan. The council commanded her to test you, to see if a human was worthy of trust. She was meant to judge you, nothing more." Ryan froze, her words striking him harder than any wound. "Test me?" he asked, his voice low and bitter. "So all this time, she was only proving something for the council?" Lyra shook her head quickly, stepping closer. "No, that was how it began, but not how it ended. She chose you, Ryan, not the council. She believed in you, more than in their orders, and that is why she gave her life for you, not because of duty, but because she trusted you with her soul." Her voice broke, and for the first time Ryan saw tears in her glowing eyes. The fire inside him softened, but the wound of betrayal still cut deep. He looked away, his fists clenched. "So now what? Is that your mission too, to test me, to judge if I am worthy?" Lyra's silence was answer enough. She lowered her gaze, her pendant dimming in the darkness. "Yes," she whispered. "I was sent to finish what she began, to see if my sister's sacrifice was wasted, to see if humanity can be trusted." The cave fell silent again. Ryan's chest burned with anger, but also with sorrow. Everything he had believed about Kayla, about their bond, felt twisted, and yet deep inside, he knew her choice had been real. Her trust had been hers alone. No, order could force that, but could he believe the same about Lyra? He stepped back, his voice cold now. "If you're only here to test me, then we are not partners. We are just enemies walking the same road." Lyra's head snapped up, her voice fierce. "No, that is not true, Ryan. At first, yes, I hated you, I blamed you, but fighting beside you, I see now why she trusted you. I see the courage she saw, and I do not want to lose you as she did." Her words shook him, but before he could answer, the ground trembled. Dust fell from the cave ceiling. Outside, a deep roar shook the desert night. Ryan turned, his instincts screaming. Then came the sound of engines, hundreds of them. Drex transports, soldiers, and war machines moving across the sands. Lyra gripped her blade, her face pale. "They have found us," she whispered. Ryan's hand tightened on his rifle, his anger at her secret pushed aside by survival. "They weren't supposed to be here," he muttered. But even as he spoke, he realized the truth. The Drex hadn't come by accident. Someone had led them here. His eyes flicked to Lyra, suspicion burning in his chest. "Did you call them?" he demanded. Her eyes widened in shock. "No." "I swear it, I would never." Her voice trembled, but he could not tell if it was fear or guilt. Before he could question further, the roar of Drex soldiers filled the valley. Their shadows spilled across the sand, their weapons glowing in the dark, hundreds of them surrounding the cave. Ryan lifted his rifle, his voice sharp. "We'll deal with your secrets later, Lyra. Right now, we survive." She raised her blade, her face hard again. "Then we fight," she said. But Ryan's heart was heavy. He did not know if the warrior at his side was his ally, or the knife waiting for his back. As the first Drex wave charged, Ryan and Lyra stepped into the storm, blades and bullets meeting fire and steel. The desert lit with explosions, the night filled with screams. But even as Ryan fought, his mind burned with one thought. If they survived this, the truth between them would decide everything. And if she betrayed him, this night would be his last. The Drex came like a storm. The desert shook under their march, engines roared, weapons blazed with green fire. Ryan fired into the dark, each shot tearing through the endless tide. Beside him, Lyra's blade carved glowing arcs through the sand. But no matter how many fell, more poured forward. The enemy wanted blood, and they were not going to stop. Ryan's shoulder burned with pain, his strength fading, but still he stood, pulling the trigger again and again. Every time he stumbled, Lyra caught the line. Every time she faltered, Ryan covered her. They were two warriors against an army, and yet for a moment it almost felt possible. They were fighting as one, just as Kayla had once dreamed. But then the Drex warlord appeared, a towering figure, clad in black armor, his weapon a blade longer than a man. His voice echoed like thunder. "Human, alien, both will fall here tonight." He swung his blade, the shockwave knocking Ryan to the ground. Sand and fire filled the air. Ryan rolled aside, firing wildly, but his shots barely scratched the monster's armor. Lyra screamed in fury and charged. Her glowing blade clashed against the warlord's weapon, sparks flying. She fought with all her strength, but he was too strong. He pushed her back, his strike sending her crashing into the sand. Ryan forced himself up, his body shaking. He knew if they faced the warlord alone, they would both die. "Lyra," he shouted, his voice breaking through the roar. She staggered to her feet, blood on her lips, her eyes burning with fire. He met her gaze, and in that moment, all doubt was gone. "I trust you," he said simply. Her breath caught, her blade trembling in her hand. For a heartbeat, she saw Kayla in his eyes, the same trust her sister had carried until the end, and something inside her broke free. She stepped forward, her voice steady. "Then trust me now, and do as I say." Ryan nodded without hesitation. "What's the plan?" Her pendant glowed bright, the crystal pulsing with strange energy. "My sister left me this," she said. "A bond between our bloodlines. It can unlock power when wielded with true trust, but it needs both of us. Together," the warlord roared, charging toward them. Ryan tightened his grip on his rifle. "Then let's finish this," he said. Lyra held out her hand, her blade glowing brighter than ever. Ryan placed his hand over hers, his rifle still. In the other, for a moment, nothing happened. Then the pendant blazed with light, energy surged between them, wrapping their weapons in a storm of fire and silver. Ryan's rifle hummed with new power, every bullet shining like a star. Lyra's blade burned so bright it cut through the air itself. Together, they rushed forward. Ryan fired, his shots piercing the warlord's armor, cracking it open. Lyra struck with her blade, slicing through the weak points. The warlord bellowed in rage, swinging wildly. But Ryan and Lyra moved as one, each covering the other. It was not human against alien, not soldier against soldier. It was one bond, forged, in fire stronger than death. With a final cry, Lyra leapt high. Ryan fired the last glowing round into the warlord's chest. The blast staggered him. Lyra's blade drove deep into his core. The monster froze, his roar turning into silence. Then he collapsed, his massive body sinking into the sand. The battlefield grew still. The Drex soldiers, seeing their leader fall, broke into chaos. Some fled into the night. Others were cut down by the Alliance forces arriving at last. Ryan dropped to his knees, his strength finally gone. Lyra stood above him, her blade dimming, her chest heaving with exhaustion. For a long moment neither spoke. Only the wind carried the sound of retreating Drex. Then Lyra looked down at him, her face unreadable. "You trusted me," she said softly. Ryan gave a tired smile. "And you did not betray me?" She knelt beside him, her eyes shining with tears. "My sister was right about you," she whispered. "And now I choose to fight with you. Not for her, not for the council, but for us." Ryan met her gaze, and for the first time he saw no anger there, only strength and a bond as real as the one he once shared with Kayla. He reached out, gripping her, hand tightly. Together, they stood as the first light of dawn rose over the desert. Two warriors from different worlds, no longer bound by orders or tests, but by trust, by choice, by destiny. The war was far from over. The Drex would rise again, stronger, hungrier. But Ryan knew one truth now. He was not alone. Kayla had given her life to build this bond, and through her sister that bond would carry on. As the sun lit the battlefield, Ryan whispered to himself, "This is not the end. This is only the beginning."